Welcome to the Dead Pixel Society podcast, the photo imaging industry's leading news source. Here's your host, Gary Peugeot.
Hello again and welcome to the Dead Pixel Society podcast. I'm your host, Gary Peugeot, and today we're joined by Sheryl Bashore, who's the owner of Sheryl Z Photography in central Pennsylvania. She is a guru of event and dance photography and a frequent speaker and now my new best friend. Hi, Sheryl. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you, Gary?
Good. We just spent half an hour talking about everything, and now
We
I
did.
finally get around to recording. So here we are. So one thing we didn't talk about in the preamble, though, is how you got started in the photography business. You've been, I don't know if you want to say how long you've been in the business, but it's been a while. And
30 plus years.
So as a small child, you started. And
Yeah. I do love you forever now.
And so talk about how you got into the photography business, and has it always been in the volume space?
When I was young, my dad was into photography and we had a darkroom in our basement and all the equipment to make pictures and blow them up. And my brother was into it. And in high school, I took a course and the rest is history. I went to college for it. That was what I was in magazine graphics and photography in the School of Journalism because I was going to write for magazines and travel the world and take pictures. And that turned into becoming more of a hobbyist for years. And then when my daughter was little, she did dance and was terrible. And she did cheer and was terrible, and gymnastics and not so good. But if I was going to be there, and I would watch the other photographers and I'm like, oh, I can do this. I was already doing like family portraits and weddings and bar mitzvahs and all of that kind of stuff. And that evolved into me trying my first cheer gym when she was like 5 or 6, my other daughter. And that was it. And I fell in love with it.
Talk a little bit about the idea of what you thought you could bring to that craft that you weren't seeing happening in your area, that you were like, hey, because everyone says I can do that better, but what was the better?
Great question. That is a really great question, actually. And it was because I came from that portrait creative side. And I always had this thing that I wanted every girl to feel beautiful, every girl to feel special and feel like a star. And I drive that point home every time someone hears me speak. It's the first thing I talk about, and it's the last thing I leave them with. I am a nut about it. So when I started, I saw the pictures that were being produced and they were terrible. It was just like, how fast can you get the kids on and off the backdrops or, in the field or whatever. And I did the boy stuff too. But for me, I wanted each kid to feel special, have their 2 minutes, 5 minutes of feeling beautiful. And as time evolved, it became so much more important in our world. That was such a big deal to these kids and their moms. And I specialized in the girl stuff because as time went by, that's where my heart was. And what kind of, the creative side of me, it rocked my world doing, the gorgeous dynamic dance moves and gymnasts and cheerleaders, just capturing all of that excited me. And how could I make every single girl walk away feeling absolutely special? And that was it. And I strive that at every shoot. I'm a nut. I talk to every kid. I know every kid. I hug every kid. I hug every mom. It just became almost my mission was, and my love of children, I guess, grew with that, was that I wanted to offer that and then teach that and instill that in other photographers, which is how the teaching came about. Was if you stop for 5 seconds and do this and make these kids feel special, in the end, you'll make a lot of money. And you'll always be asked back and your business will grow and grow and grow. And it all, I guess, stems from the heart.
Let's talk a little bit about being able to do that, but in a volume environment, right? Because I mean, like you said, you go to a lot of volume shoots and, if you've got to shoot 1,000 little leaguers and you've got maybe 35 to 40 seconds per kid, if that, right?
Right.
How do you kind of manage that on site? Now, I mean, you're probably not doing 1,000, but you're doing a lot of people, right? A lot of
Right.
dancers, a lot of gymnasts, a lot of cheer and whatnot. And so how do you balance that where you want to provide this great personal experience and get it done without it taking too long?
Mhm. Well, I am of the mindset that if a kid needs 5 minutes, they get 5 minutes. And if that kid needs 10 minutes, they get 10 minutes.
Okay.
So I don't rush my shoots. I shoot boutique volume. I've done the 1,500 kid, baseball leagues. And that wasn't my fit because again, I want to make sure every kid has their moment.
Right.
And my shoots I'm proficient. We're fast. I have posers. I have pose charts. I have mapping charts. I have the most proficient setup. It's insanely where this whole creative side of me is here. There's this whole other side of me, the business head.
Right.
And my business head, everything is dialed into perfection, which is something I teach about. I give that away. I give a PDF away of my setup and all of those things. And once I'm dialed in and I have photographers that are phenomenal, we set up multiple stations. It's never just me anymore. So I can take that extra time. But for me, that 300's my sweet spot. I don't want to go higher than that.
Mm-hmm.
Will I? Sure. But if I'm going higher than that, then I'm going to have 4 stations instead of 2 or 3,
Right.
like things like that, because I'm still, my first and foremost thing is how that child felt. And because of that, mom's going to buy because the pictures are gorgeous, because you took the extra 2 minutes to get a kid to stop crying. Right. I've had kids sit on my lap and 20 minutes until they were ready to go get their picture done. For me, it's a successful picture day is what the parents get in their hand when it's all done and what those look like.
So when you were kind of launching your business, what was the thing you wish someone would have told you back then?
That you're not going to have a life? No, I'm just kidding.
Good thing you had
you're
your
going to
two
drink a
daughters
lot of
started,
wine,
right? Good,
Yeah, you're going to turn into a Chardonnay, Sheryl. It just happened. I guess for me, I remember someone sat me down and taught me about lighting. And he's still in the business. He was phenomenal. And he's kind of like still out there doing it, but I don't know if he's shooting anymore. But he was the first one that taught me what I felt like I was missing on the lighting end. So now I knew how to beautifully light them. But it was just I didn't have a mentor back then. And then I met a couple of people along the way, like David Grupa. I don't know if his name rings a bell to you or not, but I met certain mentors along the way that sat me down and took the 5 minutes one-on-one with me to help me figure this out. And lots of trial and error, but I wish someone would have said, this is the system that works, set up like this, do A, B, and C for success. But the love of kids thing, you either have it or you don't. And I hate to say that. And if you don't have it, hire people that do. You don't have to be the ones in front of the kids. If you don't have the personality for the moms, hire someone that does. So maybe those things along the way. I mean, we used to shoot with the big, huge backdrops, the huge, I would pay this little old Italian lady to sew together 2 10x20s to make a huge 20x20.
Right.
And that evolved into the Marley floors. And that evolved into I shoot with Elastilite. Was along the way was, how do I become efficient? How do I fit everything from having a trailer we took everywhere into my small SUV? I guess that would be the biggest thing, is somebody just sitting down and taking the time with you.
It's interesting. You're kind of saying 2 things at the same time, which is, you enjoy the creative, you enjoy making the subjects look good because, you bring on that sign, but just do these setups. Set it up like this. Don't deviate. Put the light here. Put the feet there. Make the hand. So how do you kind of balance that? Because, like you said, part of it is regimented. You want kind of a similar look. But on the other hand, you do want to have a personal touch because that's your brand.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Photo retailers, energize your sales with Share Me Chat. the proven texting platform. Using chat to text on your website keeps your customers connected and buying. See us at Pro and IPI to find out why dealers using ShareMe Chat close more sales without adding staff. Find out more at shareme.chat.
Right. Well, that's what I think gives you the time and space to make it personal, because the setup's the same every time we set up, we time it and we run a timer, and I show that on my Facebook group and in, online and stuff. It takes us 17 minutes, start to finish. That's our setup. And then we have all that time to spend with the kids. Nothing changes. Our lights don't change. Our setups don't change. With the glamour headshots, which I evolved into starting them, I guess about 8 to 9 years ago, 10 years ago, I started adding that. And that became that next little boost for me. So those, I change the gel lights. I add a fan. I take the fan away. Those are a little more one-on-one personal.
Right.
The last light isn't. So I have more time. My staff pays attention to the kids.
Right.
My staff is dialed into them. I hire posers. That is one of the make or break it things for me, that are trained and employed by me. They don't work for the studios or the gyms.
Right.
And so my brand, I walk in and that's, your brand is you. And I always tell people, like, make sure what you walk in the door with is what you want seen.
Right.
So if everything's dialed in perfect, and you still have to set your cameras and, make sure your lighting's the correct light and all the rest. I mean, you have to know how to take a picture, but because everything's dialed in, I can just totally focus on the kids.
So along those lines, you do some different stuff that I don't usually see in the volume sports space, which is the silhouette thing.
Yeah.
Now, how on earth do you do that?
I'll have to send you a little video clip, because it'll actually, it's great for people to see it. But when we first started it, silhouettes, we would take a kid 3 or 4 pictures and then pose them for silhouettes, 3 or 4 pictures, and turning lights on and off and all of this craziness. And it started, oh my God, I don't even want to know. 12 years ago was I lost track. It was a while ago, the first silhouette, and it worked because of the last light backlights. And if you turn your front light off and it's backlit, you get this gorgeous ethereal silhouette where there's a bleed of color. It's not going into Photoshop.
Right. Well, that's my point. I mean, it's
taking the color out.
I highly encourage people to go to SherylZphotography.com and look at the silhouettes, because it's not just, a knock out the background, replace the color kind of thing. This is actually shot this.
Right. And they're beautiful. To me, they, like, when we first shot them, I was like, oh my God, is a mom going to like this? Or is mom going to think the flash didn't go off? And a mom went crazy. And I still get one mom will text me and go, do you have that picture, that same thing, but lit? And I'm like, no, it's shot like that. So again, it evolved. Everything evolves, like back from paper order forms to going online. Everything evolves with photography, digital, mirrorless, things like that. So for me, the silhouette, my photographers are trained so well. Every shot is on, that light is on and off so fast. Every shot they take is done both ways. And the kids don't know it happened. They're not posing special for it. They're still in front of us the same amount of time. They're not there longer. For gymnastics or cheer, they're in front of us 2.5 minutes, 3 minutes. That's it. But in that time frame, we get their team shot because it's composited. We get all their individuals with the silhouettes and action. And every single thing is shot, like I said, so fast both ways. It's like boom, 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 boom. That the kid jumping doesn't know what happened. And I am one of those people, by the way, everyone out there listen to this. If you're making the moms run away from your shoots, stop it. Let them video, let them take pictures of it. What they see is not what you produce. Get the excitement. I'm always like, take all the videos you want and tag me, tag me, tag me, tag me. So that's part of, they can't see the silhouette happen.
Right.
They have to wait. So they can't steal that image. They didn't even know it took place. And if they see the back of the camera, then the excitement is wow. So I don't keep the moms away. I love the moms.
Yeah, because there always is that diet, that
Right.
dichotomy there where you get people like, closed set, keep the mom away, mainly because
Right.
they don't want the kid being distracted. I imagine that's part of it too, is you want to make sure.
And I avoid that. My posers are on top of these kids. So the mom is not close enough that she's interacting with the kids. But if the mom wants to video the whole experience, that's today's society. It's such a social media society that if a mom wants to video this and throw it on Instagram because their kid had professional pictures, go for it.
Yeah.
But
just make sure they tag you.
Right. Just tag me. But that's the beauty of the silhouette. It is so fast. And one of the things I teach everywhere I teach is I always have live shoots when I'm teaching, because I want people to put their hands on a camera and understand it and feel it, because I can teach it all I want.
Right.
But when you show somebody and it clicks, they're like, oh, I could do that. And they're beautiful. And part of the silhouette is pumping up your gallery size. The more mom sees, the more mom spends, which Kate, that whole catchphrase, buy all, started because you want mom to buy everything. And if you give mom 2 images to look at, she'll buy both, but she just spent no money. So the more you give her, the higher you can charge.
Right.
Same thing with pricing. I teach pricing classes because people undervalue themselves as photographers. They're not charging enough money, but if you don't take enough pictures, you can't charge that money.
Right. Do you do any digital besides compositing on this? Because I'm looking at some of the pictures in your gallery here, and it looks like there's some digital work that's being done after the shoot, or is it all in the camera?
No, so everything is set off and extracted. I used NextGen Photo Solutions Forever, which now Got Photo has acquired, but everything goes out to be extracted from the Lastalite, and they give me all the digital graphics and all the wonderful team composites. After photo day, I don't touch those photos. They go to NextGen and Got Photo. They make me look like queen. They're just, they make you look so good. The compositing is phenomenal. The pictures look gorgeous. And the silhouettes, the shadows, reflections. So it gives me that old school Marley floor without dragging a Marley floor everywhere, which in dance, that's what people drag, these big laminate type floors to get reflections and shadows. And those are created through me, through the extractions with NextGen. So I don't have to drag the big equipment anymore. And it's perfect every time. The lighting's always perfect. The reflection's perfection. Nothing's ever off. And then the glamour headshots, those we edit ourselves.
Okay.
And they're just very minor. We shoot those to look the way we want them to look. And it's very minor editing with that.
Okay. So when these digital processes and the digital products started coming along, like, digital composites and things like that, were you an early adopter, or did you have to get sold on it?
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
When you think about propaganda, you probably think about Kim Jong-un and his funny little haircut. And you'd be exactly right. The podcast, This Is Propaganda, doesn't want you to believe that. They want you to question the ads you see, the news you read, the brands you love. What they don't want you to question is that they are advertisers themselves, peddling the same tricks they claim you fall for to make a living. If you need something to boycott, look no further than this show. Don't listen to This Is Propaganda.
So when the gentleman who started NextGen, his name was Wes Kroeniger. And I went to, Sync Sports. It was in my town in Lancaster forever ago, 10 years ago, I think. And I walked in and I didn't know anybody. And I remember being really shy and I wanted to leave. And if you can imagine, I was shy. People are always shocked by this, but I was very shy. And David Grupa, that name I threw out there before, convinced me to stay, him and Darty, which the two of them convinced me to stay. And then I met my first friend and my second friend. And to this day, they're still my best friends in the industry, which is so funny. But I stayed and I went to Wes's class and he had this Lastalite and was teaching compositing and I'd never seen it before. I walked out, bought an $800 last late, signed up for Next Gen, called my husband, and he was like, "You did what?" I'm like, "We're going to do this." He's like, "Are you out of your mind?" I'm like, "No, this is the next thing. This is perfect for what we do. I want to try it." And I went to my first gymnastics studio, which was 300 kids, and tried it on them, which was stupid. You should try it on something small, people. But I didn't know. And I called Wes panicking because I had all these perfect charts made of how I was going to pose these girls. And he's laughing on the phone and he's like, "Keep it simple. What are you doing? Why are you trying to do? It's your first time." So Next Gen made me look good on that shoot because that was a struggle. And I'd already been shooting gymnastics forever, but never in compositing.
Right.
And that's how I learned. And again, you asked what I wish someone would have taught me that. I wish someone would have sat me down and taught me compositing. I just from there winged it and drove Wes crazy. He would laugh if I was driving him crazy this morning. I still drive him crazy. And I'm very needy of him, but I literally wish that would be the thing, the compositing thing. As things evolve, people don't know how to use that. I'm not in school anymore. I go to conferences and I try to soak in everything I can. Conferences have such great value and to learn, but I tried to just grab this last light and do it.
So let's talk a little bit about the parent company of Next Gen, which is, the Got Photo platform.
Got Photo.
Now, again, there are other options out there. And what were some of the things that you picked as someone who was, hey, listen, you probably use paper, which is probably super time consuming, right? You were looking for an online platform. And then it's like, oh, I didn't mean to make you laugh.
Because I'm like, people think I have it very together.
Right.
And I do now, but I didn't always. I had to learn like everyone else. And I remember walking into a trade show and all of a sudden there was this new platform where you could sell online. And I had the most gorgeous order forms. I worked so hard on them. I love them. And I was like, I don't want to go online, but it was like, I started compositing. The next thing is going online. And I went to the first company and I won't name any names, but I had my reasons and I walked away. And then I went to a second company and I signed up and I bought this thing you had to have. It was like $700 or $800 and I bought it, went to a party with all my little photographer friends we were at SPAC. At the party, I'm like, what did I just do? Oh my God, I just spent all this money on this thing. And again, it's like the compositing, this didn't fit for me. So that I returned it, walked back into the trade show the next day and just started talking to Got Photo. And I wasn't sure. And then they did a summer camp. I remember Benedict, the CEO, was on the summer camp talking. And you know how someone's just talking to you? Like, they're speaking to you, but they're not. You're on a call with all these people. I just felt like he understood me and understood what I needed. And with Got Photo, even today, there's options. You can do the QR codes, you can do it tagged, there's all these options. So you're not a one-stop shop. It's what works for you. So like Bob, who's a really good friend of mine, he was on here not long ago. He does in tagged. That works for him. I don't like in tagged, just like I didn't like barcoding. I'm not computer techie, believe it or not. So QR codes were my win. That gave me that paper that mom took home, had my name, had the coupon code, had information. I felt like mom still had something in their hands.
Sure.
So it worked in my brain, but it was that day and I switched, started a small job and Got Photo and it did really well. So then I took a job that I had done always traditionally, a really small cheer team that nobody bought. It was one of those small schools I did more as a charity. It tripled. I was like, what? I didn't do anything different. I took the same pictures. I did everything the same. I just went online. And I was like, because online you have communications going to parents, reminders, urgency, coupon codes, the Walmart mentality. So many things take place. And mom's sitting at home, hopefully having her Chardonnay and buying pictures. But it worked. And it was just kind of like, wow, like I couldn't get over it. So then I put the next team in and the next team in. And my sales that first year doubled or tripled
Mm-hmm.
from paper order forms. And I was like, started singing their praises because I could not get over not how well the system worked, how well the communications were. The parents, I've heard the jokes that, you know, it's a hard system to learn. So is compositing. Everything, it isn't always easy to learn, but that doesn't mean it's not beneficial to learn it.
Right.
And when you learn it and your business takes this whole new level, it was worth the work. So I always tell people, stay the course, learn it, understand it, ask the questions, go to the conferences, go, like in this case, Gut Photo has their camp. It's a workshop. Go to the workshop, sit there, ask the questions and learn. And, you know, there's a bunch of educators just like me that are really giving in the community and give back. Hook yourself up with one of them. Everyone offers mentoring. Some do it, you know, just out of the kindness of their heart. But Got Photo was a game changer for me. And there's many others out there. Others have tried to sway me over the years. It's too good. It works.
So I find it interesting that you change how you're going to shoot and you do it at 300 people, right? But you change your commerce platform and you said, well, I'm going to just ease into that one. I'm not going to change.
Because I learned. If I tell you that 300 kid, I was dripping with sweat because I'd already shot them for years. So they knew me.
Right.
So they were gracious and kind. And again, it's the connections. The gyms love me, the owners, the parents. It's the connections you make with these people. So they were very gracious in letting me learn how to composite on their prestigious dance school. Like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh no, gymnastics. So, and the pictures came out gorgeous. So thank God that Next Gen was what it was, because I had no idea what I was doing with compositing. But, and that's one of the things that, again, evolving. And when I went into an online platform, I was smart enough to know, okay, take something really small. And it might have been a 50 kid team.
Right.
For cheer, like a high school cheer team, which high school cheer is not the money of all-star cheer. It's just not, but that's okay. You know, you know what going into things, the season of things, the money of things. So I took that one high school team and it tripled. And I was honestly blown away. And I thought, well, if it worked for that, because that's a team that doesn't buy, this has to be a good thing.
Well, I always thought, I find it interesting because I always thought the rule of thumb was the more equipment, the higher the buy, right? Like hockey, you know, they spend the most on equipment, they buy the most, baseball the most, football the most, and the other things is not. So you're disputing that.
No. Well, I shot all that, everything you just mentioned. And I'll never forget shooting hockey. My husband was so happy. And I shot ski racing. I grew up ski racing. So did my husband. So that was, I used to be on the mountain all winter, every winter. That was my thing. I loved it. There's no money in it. Talk about the money these people spend on skiing and ski passes. And oh my God, no, it just was, there was no money in it. And
interesting.
The girl stuff, I don't know what it is, but volleyball's another one. The girl stuff is where the money is. I mean, I talk to many photographers that shoot the boy stuff. And if you shoot my way, it translates into all the boy stuff and you'll make more money at it. I promise you that. But I always say my price list, we've got to change it a little for the boys. You're not going to make, you can't throw those kind of prices at the boys. But I know photographers that charge $10 or $15 for a 5x7. I'm like, are you out of your mind? This is 2024. So my 5x7s are $25 to $30.
Right.
And I hope to never sell them. I want to sell digital.
Right.
That was the old school photographer in me that was the creative would never have sold a digital.
Right.
But again, you have to change. And now a digital is my best friend. That's our highest profit. And setting yourself up with labs are super important to us. Who your lab is, your relationship with your lab. There's so many good ones out there. But I think it was what you just said, that evolution. That Got Photo, now you're online. Online, you're doing composites. You know, I don't have to physically edit a picture anymore if I don't want to.
Right.
I don't color correct. I don't crop. I don't touch them.
Well, and honestly, if you've got a system where you're capturing right in the camera, right, you should have it all dialed in at this point, right? I mean, that's not where you should be tweaking things and making, I want to change the aperture or, whatever. It's no, do not do that.
And with compositing, when you start shooting, you're stuck.
Right.
Wherever you are, wherever your camera is, whatever your settings are, they're not changing for that day.
Right.
And my goal in teaching this setup was my setup is the same everywhere I go, identical down to the inch. So what happens is a kid can come to my studio, missing picture day, get their picture taken, be put in the group picture. No one knows.
Right.
Because everything's that dialed in. I'm talking, we take measuring tape everywhere we go. It's in our camera bag. So that was what evolved the whole setup, was how do you composite successfully? And that's that. So I always think the action and drama and dynamic shots are very different than your composite shot.
Right.
Your composite shot is a very specific. I came out actually with mapping, and I'm calling it mapping for no better reason. It's like a workbook that you take on site with you, and it literally, people can print ahead of time 2 through 50 of gymnastics, 2 through 50 of cheer. You take this workbook, you cross it off so that every kid is posed exactly how it should be. So it just, again, it takes, you're saying what I would have wished. I wish someone would have handed me all these tools so that I didn't have to figure it out. So I evolved when I broke my back skiing, of all things, and everyone knows this about me. And now I couldn't be at a shoot. So what evolved from that was this mapping, was I had to send something because my husband came home from the first shoot without me, and I was screaming at him. I'm like, what is that? That kid's knees are the wrong way. Oh my God. And that kid's facing the wrong. How am I going to fix that? What? And he was like, we did the best we could. And then I involved stick figures, and I made stick figures to send to the next shoot. This is what I want. Don't mess this up. And that came back and it was better. And that's how this whole mapping evolved. So it's just a tool that, like a workbook that goes with photographers. So the same thing. I think that Got Photo gives your online form to sell. And it's, if a photographer can put everything in place before photo day, so photo day is successful, you're concentrating on the kids, the pictures are gorgeous, then you have someone extracting, doing what you need, and then you put them online. So it's just all of those factors come into mom spending $300-400, not 50.
All right, here's a question. You mentioned tape measure. What is the other thing that is the must-have thing in your on-site kit that is a surprise, or the thing you didn't expect, the thing you have to have that you didn't think was going to be there? And you can't say tape measure because you already said that.
Oh my God, if my husband hears this, I'm going to have to listen to this forever. So my husband, did you ever hear of leaning? There's some guy out there that does something called leaning. And I'd have to look it up. I'll send you a link. It's something that my husband decided to lean our world. And so every drawer has foam inserts.
And lean manufacturing.
Oh, it makes me nuts.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, you can't lean the house. Next thing you know, he took my camera bag and it was lean. And I'm like, lay off my camera bag. I'm a messy brain. Don't do this. What are you doing? And this went on and on and on. And I was like, you are making me crazy. So he took every light stand, every softbox, every camera, every single thing that goes on a shoot with us is color coded. So there's a red station. And I'm a pink girl and nothing's pink. So we did fight about that, but orange, red, and yellow.
Okay.
There's nothing for chance. So my 14-year-old posers, which I hire at 14, they really love kids still and all that good stuff. And they can set up. And that's how we set up so fast. So for me, those stupid color-coded tape, you can buy them on Amazon. That would be like, now every single thing has this stupid color-coded tape on it, which I was very mad at first. And then I was like, oh, this is genius.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
Yeah. And he would love this.
So you do some mentoring. So talk a little bit about that process. So, what's in?
Well, and I should mention, that was the other thing you asked. We always have pose charts and mapping on site, because the pose charts make or break your day. The mapping make or break your composites and my posers. So all of those things into that are what create the perfection. Without the pose charts, people don't know what, they can't figure out what to pose. Without the mapping, your compositing isn't as easy. So that's kind of the feedback. And they all evolved to help me. I didn't make any of this thinking other photographers would want it. It was my way of leaning before I knew what leaning was, or admitting calling it that. Yeah. And the mentoring came about with that. I talk at many conferences, as you know, and teach everywhere. And people want the one-on-one. They want what you asked me, what I wish I would have had back then was that someone who sat me down and said, this is how you do it. And I always tell people, I can teach you, and then you have to evolve it into yours.
Right.
It's not necessarily everything I do is going to work for you, but I have women, I give my price list away everywhere I go. It's there. I don't hide it. I hand it to people. I show people my numbers. I don't hide my numbers. I always feel like if you're going to talk about pricing, you have to show people. Right. You can't, hide your numbers. And that was a hard thing for me at first, but I give it to them and then people don't apply it.
Right.
And they're like, I'm like, well, I gave it to you. They're like, yeah, but your prices are too high for me. So I'm like, okay, sit down, show me your pricing, and let's change yours to get closer to mine, but for you, everyone's individual. So I sit with people and redo their pricing so it works for their business model and they didn't jump from here to here.
Right.
So that became the mentoring and just teaching people how to sell online, how to take the pictures, kind of all of it. And I love it. It's just a lot of fun. I love the one-on-one connection.
Sounds good. So speaking of connections, how can people find you and connect with you if they want to learn more about Sheryl Bashore and Sheryl Z Photography?
So my Instagram is Sheryl Z Photo. That's a great way to find me. I'm not great at it because I'm old, but I'm trying. I'm trying, but so Sheryl Z Photo, and then my Facebook is Sheryl Bashore. I do have with an S. I have a Sheryl Z Photography Facebook. I don't use it, I'll be honest. And then my education website is SherylZeducation.com.
Okay, great.
So that's pretty easy to find. And those are probably the easiest ways to find me. Even so, talk about you mentioned my website earlier. I don't ever use it. I have it. And the pictures on there are probably old at this point.
Well, the copyright date's 2020. I was going to mention that after.
Right. Right. I don't use it. I'm actually getting ready to shut it down. And with the education one, do another website through that one that has for parents and things like that. Because I don't use it because all the parents go to my Got Photo one.
Okay.
So I have no use for every single thing I shoot is in Got Photo. I even corporate headshots. I do a lot of that just because it's easy, great money. But even that I run through Got Photo. There's nothing I use that website for anymore. So, and there is a contact page. So people contact me, which is fine. Yeah. But
awesome.
Oh, and wait, I have a Facebook group. Come join it. That's my favorite.
Okay.
I forget. It's Mastering Cheer and Gymnastics and Dance, I think. Hold on.
Mastering Cheer, Dance, and Gymnastics Photography. That's you right there.
And if you're a photographer, come join. We try to make it fun and easy. And people constantly are chiming in with their questions and what they're doing and all of that. And if you're available, come to the conferences. So worth it. You get so much one-on-one time with all of us. I know me, I'm that person. I stay downstairs and I talk to people the whole time. I don't go hide. I'm an open book. And
clearly,
I feel like all the other speakers are. I love the teaching aspect. I love watching that fire go off in somebody else, that when I was in my 20s and how I felt. And when you asked that question, it was so hit home for me. What do I wish I would have had? And I wish I would have had somebody like me or Bob or Heather, that truly cared and wanted to spend the time and help us.
Because really, I mean, it's not like they're going to come into your backyard and take your customers away, right? Why not teach it?
I have. So at SPAC this year, which was so cool, I had a bunch of my local competition there. And I joke about it because they're not my competition, they're my friends. And they hid in the back of the class and I called them out. And I was like, guys, I know you're here and you better come hug me. Like, I love that. No one takes a team away from you unless you deserve your team to be it's your relationship should be so strong. So
good. Well, thanks. It's been great talking to you. Great to meet you. And
great
looking forward to
you.
see you at an upcoming industry event.
You better.
Awesome. Talk to you later.
Deal.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Dead Pixel Society podcast. Read more great stories and sign up for the newsletter at www.thedeadpixelssociety.com.